Right, hello everybody to developers commentary of CPD. Basically, I'm going to play through the maps. I've never actually played this megawad continuously, even though I made the damn thing. And I'm just going to give you my thoughts on each level, the design decisions I made behind them, things that I think that could be improved, the stories behind the levels, little Easter eggs as well if you haven't found them. It's going to be ad-lib. I'm probably not going to edit any of this, not that I know how to anyway. It's me at the keyboard, the microphone's on, so you might hear some typing sounds as well. I've done a few tests, hopefully audio is okay. If anybody's watching, leave me a comment to let me know if it's alright. Otherwise, I'm just doing this for myself, really. I want to reflect upon my design process, see what I can improve in the future. So, let's get started. We're going to play on Ultraviolence the way it was designed. Ultraviolence is the difficulty I usually play at, although recently I've been putting a lot more effort into my Hurt Me Plenty difficulties on a few maps I've made recently. But this megawad really is UV only, I would say, and I think that's a limitation of it, and projects in the future should probably spend more time on the lower difficulties. So, here we are, map 01, Spillage, and there's loads of stuff straight away to look at. First of all, this bizarre vehicle here. There's a little drone here as well, and if you look at the top, you can see this little G-man staring down at you. So already we've got like 3 story beats going on in the level. This is the vehicle you came in from. If you've played knee deep in Z-Doom or E1M1, that also had a little vehicle that you arrive in, and this is inspired by that E1M1. I remember that vehicle looking a little bit small and not even big enough to fit a Doom guy in it, but that's where the inspiration comes from. Now up here you've got this little robot. Now if you've read the story text file, you'll know that the story goes that you're the soldier that's gone to the UAC facility and you're going to climb the mountain to find out what the UAC has been getting up to. And the idea being that you get this little drone and you send it out through the ventilation shafts. And what I wanted to do, and I don't think I do it very well honestly, is that you see this drone doing its own thing in different bits of the level. And you can see it in map 02, I believe, and map 05 and map 7 as well. And I wanted to give a feeling that you aren't the only thing inside the facility, that other things are going on other than just you. And that was inspired by a map in Lost Civilization, Sawmill I think, where you look through a window and you can see another Marine. It's just a voodoo doll surrounded by corpses, but it invites the imagination. It makes you think, wait, am I the only guy here? There are other things going on, and that made me really excited to play the rest of Lost Civilization, because I was hoping to see more like survivors or other people. It helps push the story along. And up here as well, this G-man watching you, this was a later edition, he wasn't there in the original version. I actually went back in all the maps and added one G-man to all of them. These are the extraterrestrials that are watching you and judging your performance, and if you played the whole megawad, they're going to stick you in the freezing tube at the end, and a pretty obvious Half-Life reference. So really it's a Half-Life reference. There's one in every map. Hopefully I'll remember to point them all out, but let's get going. So this original entrance was not in the original level. It was actually this corridor was the start, but I thought that the journey from the vehicle to the entrance was quite important. It kind of sets the scene. You're going from bright daylight into the dimly lit corridor. It's a nice transition, I think. One thing I would do, so I'm running back again, is it doesn't look much like a mountain though. The title screen shows this giant mountain behind this, but it's, you know, it's a limitation, but I think I might be able to get around it now, is that the walls should be higher, I think. They should go all the way up. You shouldn't even be able to see sky. I think it should just be really, really high up. to give the impression of a very tall mountain. I didn't quite get that, but it doesn't matter. So let's get going. I will be using saves for this playthrough just because, well, I die sometimes. You know, I just die. I know where almost everything is, but I do die. Now, talking whilst playing, not something I'm the best at, but we'll give it a go. So, map 01, Spillage. It's a nukage facility, pretty by the numbers, intended as a little introduction. Now, the phrase CPD means continuous professional development. And the story of that is that these first few tech maps were actually drawn on paper during my CPD courses at work. So that's where the phrase comes from, is that most of these maps were drawn and thought up when I should have been doing far more important work instead. Now, Spillage is not actually a short map that you would expect from map 01. It's got 122 monsters, 4 secrets, and I think that was the wrong decision. I don't think this should be a map 01. It's too intense, there's too much going on. I also think it's quite linear as well. You go from one encounter to the other. This corridor fight is quite cool. The idea being that I wanted this corridor to fill up with monsters to force you to go into here, and originally this was filled with spectres as well. So you would fight the imps here, you say, oh, there's too many of them, and you would run in here and have to fight spectres instead. That got dialed back because people didn't enjoy having to grind through that much HP with just a shotgun, and there's no way I'm giving the player a super shotgun on the first map. So here's a secret here. The blinking light, hit the switch, raises this bridge to get the chain gun. Hold down, we'll pick up the chain gun. This little lift here, this pathetic little lift here, I would improve that in the future. It's difficult to get onto, and if you stand on it you have to take damage, which is why I had that little lip down there, but still I'd improve it in the future. So here we go. We can see a soul sphere over there, that's hinting that there's a secret somewhere. We're going to blast our way through here. This is a nice little view, you can see the exit from over here. Little trick from E1M7, I want to say, where you, computer station I think, where you can see the exit at the start of the map. And I added all these little windows just so you can get little vantage points. It's fun. One big recommendation I can make for all beginner mappers is add as many windows as possible, because it fakes interconnectivity. And people always praise my levels for being well connected, but the truth is that I just make rooms, really, the big set pieces, and then try and find ways to make windows and corridors between them. And it's kind of how you fake it, is that it feels like I've done all this amazing planning to make it all loop together, when really it's just a few windows and corridors. So here we have our first Revenant. Now the Revenant appears here because it's a statement on the difficulty of the WADs, that Revenant's level 1, you should be expecting some tough opposition, and I make a better statement on map 02 about what the difficulty of this WAD will be like. So we've got some bars here. Originally there was like an ugly pillar back there that I removed just because it didn't look very nice. So we're going to hop in here. I'm going to dump another save, because if you played the map you know what's coming. Not an incredibly difficult fight. This here, I think it's a cool looking room. This is a technique I've used since the beginning of my maps when I was a teenager, the first map I ever made. Now lost to the ages. Use this high contrast lighting of full bright, very dark, and these kind of pulled back shadows as well. So here we go, we've got imps, 2 revenants. You can play it however you want, 2 switches as well. One gets you out and one unlocks the way forward. But let's deal with the Revenants. Few players don't enjoy shotgunning Revenants. I can see why, but I think at the same time, the fact that Revenants have a longer kill time with the default shotgun actually means that you have to do more dodging. So it's almost like a little endurance test of, rather than having to just dodge one missile, you have to dodge 2 or 3. So you have to consistently be good at dodging rather than just make one good dodge. So we've got the exit area here that we saw previously. We were up there by those windows. Cool little raising bridge. Originally that was a mancubus over there, but I decided to add the Revenant and give it a snipe chain gun. Just because there's too much HP to get through. A map 01 you want to be fast, you want lowish HP monsters suitable for the weapons. So grab the rocket launcher here. Originally you had to drop down into the nukage, but that felt a bit too mean. And originally 2 mancubus would appear as well, but Revenants are fine. I really like Revenants because of their HP, because you kill them very quickly yet they're still dangerous, so it doesn't feel like a chore to get through them. So clean up these few lost souls. Nice little fight here because it's punishing if you drop down, but you've got flying enemies to fight, so they don't get punished by the level geometry that you do. And I put the few lost souls in there because I've given the player a rocket launcher, but lost souls make the rocket launcher not impossible to use, but more challenging. So it stops a spray and pray tactic. You've got to actually aim your shots. And I think some players say that my maps don't have enough ammo in them, especially for the power weapons, the rockets and the plasma. And my rebuke to that is that you kind of need to aim better. I think getting direct rockets and predicting movement in Doom is possible, actually, especially when you know the workings of the AI, and I think it's an expectation of mine that the player can hit most of their shots. Actually, they're quite accurate, especially on UV. So 100% at that one. Hopefully I'll remember all of the secrets. And up here is a little evil eye. This was a little Easter egg that was in the earlier versions, that more and more evil eyes would watch you as you got closer and closer to the summit. The idea being that Hell's presence was getting stronger and they were taking more notice of you. It didn't come across well in the final version at all. But anyway, we're going to move on. We kind of go into the mountain. 100%. See, 11 minutes for a map 01. I don't know how I feel about that. And it's quite linear as well. It's an okay map. I don't think it's the best opener. I don't think it's a good enough statement of the megawads. I think map 02 is actually a better statement of what the megawad is about. So, Techno Hall. I'm going to drop save here. So, oh, infighting. They don't usually do that. Hit the barrels, just because barrels are cool. I don't use barrels enough in this megawad. Barrels are awesome. I need to use more of them. Drop into darkness, get your first secret. So I'm playing continuous just because I don't think pistol starting for a developer's commentary. Well, I could do, but basically I want an easier time so I can talk my way through it. Hopefully that's alright. All the levels were made with pistol start in mind, but it's also a narrative, so kind of playing continuously is absolutely fine as well, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So I have no issues with it. You don't really ever end up with an abundance of rockets and plasma. Hopefully quite scarce in like rockets you get. So, first room, heavily telegraphed ambush. You can hear the Revenants already. And this is me making my first difficulty statement of the megawad, saying this is what it's going to be like. It's probably going to get worse. So, grab the rockets. You've only got 2 of them, so you need to go get a box of rockets here. Run past the meter here. You can hit the switch there to get out, but let's just take time. Keep on the move. Flip your rockets. Infighting will help as well. Try not to blow myself up. With lots of medkits about, it's quite forgiving. You should be able to just pick these guys up with a shotgun. Yeah, they are full in. There we go. we got a rocket there. We'll take that, take another rocket. Should kill him. There we go. So, that's cleared up. And the music, I think, most of the early ones were made by James Paddock. I took it off the folder he has on his website, the free to use stuff. Never actually asked for permission, but I kind of just assumed it was okay. If it isn't, somebody let me know. It's too late now though, nobody told me. So that's the first fight done. A statement, I think, on the expect lots of reference, really. Expect big fights. When you see a power weapon, when you see lots of ammo, expect a big fight. So a secret here, Berserk pack. And that's there to deal with the Crusher room coming up later. There should be, oh, I'm struggling to find it now, a little switch. It might be on the other side. I haven't played Smack in a long time. There it is. That's one of my secrets. That's how I kind of lazily do secrets, honestly, is I hide little switches and just make a pillar. You can make pillars anywhere, put the Soul Sphere on top of it, make a switch hidden somewhere. There's a rocket in this waterfall as well. So run up these stairs. This metal area, just get Berserk going. Really, this trap is just more annoying than actually difficult once you know it's coming. If you don't have Berserk, it is harder, but you can just lure them into the Crushers. These two demons are here to punish players that are run through that pack there. So that shot as well. So, a few rockets. And you'll see, if you've been smart with your rockets, you should have just enough to deal with what spawns here. And this is another statement of the Awards. Then there's going to be Archfires. But if you're smart with your ammo, you'll have enough rockets. This switch is reusable, so we can just hit that and keep moving. So this is almost like the second time we've ran through this. That's a John Romero idea, reusing areas, and I stuck to that pretty religiously. The really important rules to follow for any new methods, I would say, is stick to John Romero's rules of level design of reusing areas and lots of height variation. And that's difficult for new methods to get, is that height variation. And I find a lot of new mappers get bogged down in technical features. I know when I was a teenager and making my first Doom maps, I was much more obsessed with coloured lighting, fog, custom weapons from the Realm 667, a bestiary. And I think if you kind of go down that avenue without having the mapping skills to back it up, you're not going to produce very good levels. I think we see that a lot is, I don't know why, but people recommend UDMF format for new Doom mappers, saying, oh, you can do anything you want, you've got pure freedom. I just think, no way, that's too much. It's way too much. You've really got to understand the fundamentals and the basics, and there's so much you can do with a limit removing. So here's a little drone showing you that he's moving about, he's gathering information, he's killing things, you've got somebody on your side, and that's reassuring, I think. It's not communicated right. I don't think anyone has ever told me that they've seen this. Everyone just barrels all the way down here. Maybe that's because the map's so engaging that you just want to go, go, go. So maybe if the map was more boring or really better detailed, people might want to stop and smell the roses. So let's drop down here now. In the id Games version, this is bugged, as the floor isn't actually damaging. Nobody's actually pointed that out to me, apart from one person playing on YouTube, I think. But it doesn't matter because you get the rad suit and you think it's damaging, so you play really quickly anyway. So the effect is still there, even though the threat isn't. Now originally in these little waterfalls, I hid barrels in there to make it really punishing, but that felt too mean. Too mean. So we drop down here. Get here, we've got some little technology decorations there. This opens up. That's a waste of a rocket. Magnus here. Yeah. Originally this was going to be a big outdoor area, and I was trying to make it work, but I didn't really have the ability or the imagination, and I think that was the right decision just to make this little connecting hallway instead. And this is an example of easy interconnectivity here, because you get the yellow key here, and what you could do is just make this a lift and make another lift up there to get back, and that would lead you to the yellow key. But instead, all I've done is just create a little connecting hallway that links back, and that improves the flow of your map, and easy bonus points for interconnectivity as well. It makes it feel like 3D space, which is, you know, another Romero idea. Let's take that mech kit. Well, we're a little bit stacked here, aren't we? We've got the Mega Armor. That's fine. So, Techno Hall. I think it holds up. I think it's quite difficult. That first fight with the rocket launcher is a good statement. Okay, I like the incidental combat as well, of kind of blasting through imps and chain guns. It's important in your maps to have that little break period where outside of the big fights, as you're moving through corridors and little rooms, you're still getting a little bit of combat. And I think that hits the nail on the head. This is a good map, I think. I think it looks good too as well. It's called Techno Hall. It looks like a Techno Hall, doesn't it? Right then. Holy Weapon. Why is it called Holy Weapon? Because you get the super shotgun. Run down here, get the chain gun. You can run back up the stairs, or you can be a little bit more aggressive and take the fight to them. I've got armor, so this is quite a bit easier for me. Without armor, you've got to be a bit more cautious. But I would say most of the megawad and most of my maps in general really reward aggressive play. Definitely. When you push forward, you find health and armor. If you stay and camp, then usually you're going to run out of ammo or you're going to be overwhelmed. So I really want to make sure that resources are in front of the player, not behind them, so they're forced to push forward into the enemies. So, a few chain gun snipers here. This is a cool little nukage area, quite like it. We've got the red key there, so the player's got a point of interest, they've got a goal. Really important not to hide your keys, make them really obvious, make the player see them early as well. If the player sees the key early, they've got a goal they can link back to. This is a nasty fight here, for those of you that don't know the Revenant dance. I believe a very special video by a Rock King will help you improve your Revenant punching skills. And that fight was inspired by that Rock King video, that you jump down, you have to switch because you pick up the Berserk pack, and then you have to do some punch out with the Revenants. So a little fight here. This was annoyingly bugged for a long time. A lot of things go on. You trigger about 3 line deaths there of the bars lowering, and then the floor lowering, and then some teleport traps opening. And if the player didn't rush through all of them, things would get messed up. But it seems to be fixed now. So this little fight has more design to it than you would think. You lower down on that platform, and the idea being that you've got the yellow key, you're probably looking out here, the Caco demons come here, so this area is guarded, and behind you is guarded as well. And then you've got a bit of target prioritization. You've got to go chain gunners, get rid of the Hell Knight, and then kill the Caco demons, all before the Caco demons get in this room. If the Caco demons get in here, it becomes a lot more difficult, so you need to prioritize your targets. So we've got a yellow key, we link back. Hopefully you opened up this, so it's just a quick scroll. Pointless Hell Knight here, don't know why I put a Hell Knight here, waste of time, slows the game down. This whole area to the red key is pretty incidental, but it's outside. It's a nice contrast. Outside and indoor areas help create really easy believability. I think easy believability. It feels like a real place. Hit switch. Down. Whoa, what's going on up there? I saw a little bug up there. There we go, look at that. That's a ceiling texture broken. Embarrassing, I put this out on in-game for bugs like that. Right then. Super shotgun fight, they teleport in before you get the SSG. So you can camp it in here, or you can take the fight to them. I'm fine with allowing players to camp them. Some people have criticised my design and saying you need to lock the player in the room. You have to lock them in the room, otherwise they're going to run away and they're going to create unfun gameplay for themselves. You need to force them to have fun by locking them in the room, and I do that sometimes, absolutely. But I think it's okay sometimes let the player back off, take things at their own place, let the player dictate the pace of play. Now this secret is stupid, it should be better, but it's not. It's just a random line death teleport. 2 secrets in one area, because I think by this point I'd realised that there were no secrets in the map, so I just decided to add some in. And like, loads of texture bugs here, like how lazy is that? Why aren't these lined up? You see a lot of texture mishap, misalignment in these early maps, just because I was new. I'd only put out 3 maps or so in 200 minutes. Wait, can I get that map? Oh, I can. I'd only put out 3 maps in 2 or 300 minutes of VR, which is in 2014. So I was 6 years ago. I was even earlier. I don't know. All knows I was still really a teenager making those. Those are my first ever published maps. The first ones I thought were good enough for anyone to play them. Maps 11, 14 and 23, 22, don't know. Just a load of tech-based speed maps. And these are kind of the first maps I made following that. I really didn't make any Doom maps for a while. So it's picking up right where we've left off. Alright, unpausing the recording, getting back on it. So, this is I think the final area of this map is the weakest. The first half's pretty fun, but this is just some combat, and then some more combat. I wanted to get some sort of, I guess, like trench warfare feeling. I was really big on making a map that had all these trenches that you're ducking in and out of, and it was really dangerous to stick your head above the trenches. Just didn't really have the skill to do that at the moment. This little kind of raised rock edges was my first attempt at that, but I didn't really quite get it. Those are some cheap. I forget about those chain gunners. They're cheeky. I do that sometimes. Quite cheap. Is hide chain gunners around corners. It is cheap, but it also punishes players that are too confident. Who think they've got a full stack, they're invincible. Hide some chain gunners around a corner, they're dead. And this is a nice exit room because you get to see the destruction that you've caused. You know, you can look back and say, I've been there, I've killed everything. I can see that buggy texture that I'm amazed nobody ever pointed out to me. That's impressive. I guess that Valve was right, that players just don't look up. Players don't look up. And that's why my ceilings are under details, because players don't look up. It's true, honest. Don't spend too much time on your ceilings, put some lights up there. Spend more time on your geometry instead. Don't worry about your ceilings, players don't look up. So, the exit is a teleporter. It's a cop-out because I didn't know how to link it to the next level, so we do a teleporter instead. Holy weapon finished, 100%. An okay map, not the best I think. I think it's one of the weakest of the first tech-based episode. Played better. Definitely played better. Made better as well. But it's okay, you get the SSG and you feel fantastic. We go to the core. Interesting start here. It's a really short map. And utter chaos is going to kick off once we start. I'm going to make a little save. I just do that a lot. Now, originally, the fight you're about to see was a lot more intense. So intense that I really struggled to beat it. And if you're struggling to beat something on your own map, you do need to lower the difficulty. And I don't always do that, and sometimes I get quite stubborn with my difficulty, saying, it doesn't matter if I died 10 times in this fight, it's awesome, I'm keeping it this way. When you're making a megawad and you want the player to get through 30 levels, you don't want them to burn out on map 4. You have to lower it a little bit, so let's get started. So you fire, and these teleporters are prime. I'm starting with the chain gun, so I've got an advantage. Though originally, this is a Doom 1 roster. You know, shotgunners, zombie men, imps, etc., etc. Originally, it was revenants and chain gunners and shotgunners. You know, it was utter madness, absolute chaos, and all you had was a chain gun, and it was really, really challenging. Too difficult, I think. You know, 2 sets of armour, because on pistol start, your armour's usually gone by that first fight. It's so chaotic. So we can pop through here. A techno music blaring, and probably another Jimmy MIDI, I imagine. It's quite interesting MIDI choice. A lot of these maps were made with the level title and the MIDI in mind before they were even designed. So, you know, this was the core with this techno MIDI decided, and then I made the map. I'm actually getting destroyed here. That's why I added this little run through here, so you get the drop on them. Originally this wasn't here. I added it in later, so you could go around the revenants. Because having to drop down all the time, it does put you at a height disadvantage, which means there's a trade-off. You can escape and get a height disadvantage, but it also means you have to run all the way back up. And for a map that you want to play fast, you want to reduce as much backtracking as possible. Right then, there's an arch file. Originally there were 2 arch files. Maybe there should still be 2. Would have been more interesting. You've got these 4 pillars. It's a nice arena to have an arch file in. Whenever you put an arch file on the map, make sure you've got cover, you know, and lots of corpses for them to resurrect. Multiple angles of attack here, and that's good for keeping the player on their toes. We've got chain gunners on the high ground, chain gunners on the mid ground as well. And oh, first death? I'm talking too much. Right, and we're back. I promise that I did not just get destroyed by the arch file and have to reset again. But let's try to do this room again without dying, and explain why it's so dangerous, because you've got multiple angles of attack, and if you want to attack these guys you leave your back open, so you have to take your time, gun them down, or you can also rush your way through the corner. And am I going to die again? I'm really worried. Oh, it should be alright. It should just be a hell no. Yeah, just a hell no idea. This is a nice compact level. It's sometimes good to reduce the monster count. You'll see that a lot of my maps end up with about 175 monsters, and you really have to force yourself to rein it in sometimes. There's nothing wrong with short maps. Short maps are absolutely great. Always, if you've got a choice between short and large, you should probably be picking short. So short maps are so much better for the average player. It lets you work with concepts that you wouldn't want to drag out for an entire, like, long map, unless you play around with ideas. So I recommend, if you're starting out, short map, short map, short map. What is this texture doing here? Okay, thought that was about. Right, so this teleport trap here, some people really like it, some people really don't like it. I had mixed opinions on it, so I decided to leave it in. Just need to back up a little bit. And I have a horrible feeling that I might actually die when I get to the chain gunners. Isn't that shot I just took? No, I'm okay. Let's try Revenants do it. Oh, I was going to die to the Revenant. There we go. Let's try again. There we go. Now I can't quite remember how this trap. Well, the lights are going to go out, I think. And then there'll be shotgunners here and revenants here. Nasty. Yeah. The only time, that's the only time I actually use that light trick. And I should use it more often because it's awesome. You hit this, You take a teleporter, get your first backpack. But I forgot to go get the blue key, so let's go back and get that. Ideally, there should have been the teleporter there that takes you back to the blue key, perhaps. Oh, we got the blue key. Okay, brilliant. And then we can just get the hell out of it. Backpack is an incredibly powerful item. You need to be really careful when you give it to the player because it makes them very, very powerful. And you'll see that things are going to get a lot easier now I've got the backpack on this continuous playthrough. And you can see in the distance, it's just a massive black pixels, but there is a G-Man watching you in the background now. I think I didn't point out the Mappo 3, Mappo 2 one, sorry, but there's one right in the distance there before you leave. Some people say that I should just stick to one exit. I like doing a whole stack of them to make it really obvious. Players move so quickly in Doom that you've got to really, really signpost things. I think having a big stack of exit signs is the way to go. Whole pillar of them, I say, go for it. So that's the core finished. Onto Mountain Base. And there should be a little evil eye up there watching you. I can't remember where the G-Man is. Don't know if he's back there. Might not be. So this is Mountain Base. I wanted to tell a little bit of a story with this one. You're getting close to the facility, or the top of the mountain even, and these were meant to be little barricades where the Marines have been fighting the demons, hence the corpses. So you're coming to the remnants of a battle that the Marine forces have lost, and you're here for kind of the clean-up, dealing with the infestation. I didn't really communicate that well, but right away we've got 2 points of interest. We've got some sort of window up here, a load of rockets there as well, a little nook here, great use of contrast, where you go into this little room, it's dark, and here as well is me telling the player that brown liquid is damaging. Brown liquid is damaging. There's a little test bit here as well. So if you want to communicate which floors are damaging or not, do it at the start of the level. Just let the player know straight away. Let's get going. So this is kind of first big map. I would say it's 3 keys. It's long, winding. It's got a great pace of play though. It plays fast. I don't think it's the prettiest map. I think the first section is probably the ugliest bit of the wars. That's just because, remember, these were made sequentially. This is the 5th map I made for the project. Map 05, I didn't make them in different orders. Because I was telling a narrative, I thought it was important to make one map after the other. And that helps your narrative, but it might mean that your worst maps come first, which is bad if you're trying to get somebody to play them. So your narrative needs to be better, so players keep playing, even though so the story's good, so players keep playing, even the levels aren't that good. And one of my main inspirations was Haidophobia, which I played for its first release actually, and I really enjoyed it because of the story, not so much for the gameplay, but I kept playing the levels because I wanted to see how it would end. And I've tried to do the same thing here. I don't think I was that successful because Haidophobia had this great document, I think, that described the story of all the levels, and some megawads have that, and I think that's a really good idea, and I should have done that. Probably could still do that. No, maybe I will do that. Or a little description of each level, and that helps create setting. It gets the player searching for bits, because it is difficult to create realistic things in a Doom. But you know, if you call your map the reactor and you have a little text file saying the reactor's overloading, when you make that giant flashing red thing, they're going to go, whoa, that's the reactor, dude, so cool, love it, the reactor. You know, that kind of little touches really helps with the setting of your level, keeping players motivated. Here. here. And blast our way up here. Hit this little razor bridge. So you'll see this is another central area that gets revisited, or that you keep seeing more of it. And as I said earlier, windows, you must just keep adding windows and little secret tunnels or whatever, really easy to make interconnected tunnels. Okay, make them secrets, connect your areas together. It creates the illusion of interconnectivity when really it's a load of boxes and corridors stuck together. But people seem to love it. They say that it's interconnected, it's amazing. You kind of just stick in rooms and corridors together. And make sure you're very high. You know? No Wolfenstein 3D flat floors between rooms. Don't just build flat corridors all the time, build staircases. Look at this. Staircase down. Light and dark room. Staircase up. Little height variations. Even if your gameplay is mainly flat, I mean most of the gameplay of these early levels is quite on one plane. You're not really being attacked from a height advantage, it's just they're in your face, they're there, but because I've got all this movement up and down, it doesn't feel like that Wolfenstein 3D level that so many new mappers end up making. Now this is, if you take it like a man, it's a hard fight. But if you just run out, like most people do, then it's not a hard fight. I've got 34 rockets, but I just kind of want to shotgun them. Just do it. I like shotgunning Revenants. I love Revenants. They're fast, they're dangerous, they're easy to kill. But they take just enough time that you have to pay attention to them. I've recently begun using Revenants as snipers in a load of my maps, put them quite high up and far away, and that makes them very dangerous. Deal this Hell Knight. Doesn't even need, there's so many unnecessary Hell Knights in this megawad, like just a waste of time. Like 4 imps would be enough. The Hell Knight gives nothing. It's difficult to use the Hell Nobles, the Hell Knight and the Baron of Hell effectively because they're just big imps, and usually just put an imp there instead, you know? They just slow gameplay down so much. So you need to be careful when you use them. They need to kind of guard things. People describe barons as doors with health, and that's a really good way to use them as like guards, but they're not intimidating. No Doom player is intimidated by Hell Knights or Barons of Hell. There should be guards for items, guards for passageways to lock players into an arena, or kind of form up a bit of meat in a slaughter fight perhaps, or HP you have to grind through. It's difficult to use them properly, and I see a lot of new mappers like to chuck in barons like they're threatening or actually dangerous. This is an annoying secret. I mean, yeah, it links you back to the start of the map, but you also have to run all the way back, so I should have just added the teleporter in there as well. But I was a little bit against using teleporters because they were too hellish, and I didn't want to involve the hellish stuff just yet. Though as I say that, some monsters just teleport in. I think that's something episode 1 does, is that you only really get teleporters in E1M9 with that pentagram, that red pentagram that spews out pinky demons, to show that Phobos base isn't fully corrupted. And I wanted to try and do the same here, that you don't get much hell imagery, to show that hell's only recently arrived. They haven't kind of put the candles up yet and impaled all the corpses. They've just arrived. You're new on the scene as well. I must say, generally playing these maps, I am really enjoying myself. I thought I was going to cringe on these old maps, but they do play quite well. They really do hold up. I'm quite impressed with myself. I mean, most of these maps were made in the lockdown. I'm in the UK and I had basically a lot of free time with the lockdown, and what did begin as those first 3 maps, which were, you know, that's the CPD, the ones drawn during the CPD course. I need to pay attention here. Those ones actually drawn during the CPD course. These were the lockdown maps, and I started to take a little bit more care, start to write the story, kind of. The story didn't really come to fruition until the end. Until then it was kind of just a mishmash of maps. I guess these maps were made almost a year ago now. Like 9-10 months perhaps? Don't know. Let's try that fight again. That was a little bit difficult. I should actually raise the bridge though. Is there a teleporter down here? There is. That's actually intelligently designed by me. Thank you, past self. Thank you for caring about the player. Let's just keep going. There's a secret here actually, isn't there? Well, look at this dodgy texturing. That's been missed as well. Oh, it's the same over there as well. Disgusting. So unprofessional. It's an amateur megawad in some ways. My quality control is, because I'll be honest, I'm quite lazy with quality control. It's not as good as, I would say, professional mappers. I don't always check texture alignment. Upper, lower arm pegs, and I'm still finding bugs. And that's a trade-off in a one-man megawad, is that, yeah, sure, you've got 32 maps in your vision, but you've also got to look after 32 maps as well, and that can be quite difficult actually, because you've got 32 maps to, you know, bug test, play test, and that's something I think this megawad is lacking, is because I was new to the community. Most people weren't willing to really take a chance. This item's supposed to kill me, isn't it? Oh. Most people weren't really willing to play some newbies maps, especially these first ones as well. They didn't really get the play testing they could have done with, and I was impatient as well. I kind of wanted to just get out. Where am I going? Red kit, there we go. I was impatient as well. I just kind of wanted to get it out of the door, so I rushed a release in October because I was done with it. I had all 32 maps done. I wanted to move on. And looking back, I probably should have stuck with it a little bit longer, made it a better product, because I'm not completely happy with the version I put out on id Games because of these little texture bugs. There's more time I could have spent with it, but at the same time I was bored with it, and I don't know how much really could have added. We're almost dead actually. That's okay, we were at the end. 159 kills, 6 items, 6 secrets, a little bit of Doom Cute. Sit in a chair and look at the view of the mountain. Another evil eye watching you. I don't know where the G-Man is. There is one. No, there he is. He's over there, all the way in the back. There's your drone as well. That's been flying about, killing things. So 3 things going on. That's 2 cramps. There should only be 1 thing to look at, but oh well. So you've got hell watching you, and you've got this unknown presence where there are 2 interested parties in you. Oh, well, this is exit sign post. Yeah, exit. There should be another exit sign up here. Off we go. So I'll save this as, I guess, the first session. I'm going to edit it and stick it up on YouTube, and then keep playing from map 6 to 10, I think. If you're one person watching this and you're interested in Doom mapping, get yourself on Doom World. You can give me a message if you want to talk design and theory, how to make your first maps. I'm always happy to help out. Hopefully these videos are helping upcoming mappers as well. So yeah, get in touch if you want some help with design and theory. I'm happy to talk to you about that. Or if you've got advice for me as well, because there's lots of experienced mappers who enjoy my megawads. If you've got tips for me, please leave them as well. I'll be really interested to know how I can improve.